Please stand by.
Loading. Loading complete.
30,
29, 28,
27,
26,
25, 24,
20,
22,
21, 20, 18,
17,
16, 15, 14, 13,
12,
11, 10,
9, 8, 7, 6, 5,
4,
2,
1. Now for what you've all been waiting for.
Good morning, good day, good evening, good night, good whatever it happens to be where you are, and hello to everybody in the future who sees this. All right. Well, I see we got a few people filing in now. Don't see anybody in the chat yet, but hello everybody. Boy, it's kind of hurrying on and trying to get this thing started here. Let's see. I guess we'll just get right down into the opening song. Every morning, every evening, ain't we got fun? Not much money, yo, but honey, ain't we got fun? The rent's unpaid, dear, we haven't a bus. Smiles were made, dear, for people like us. In the winter, in the summer, don't we have fun? Times are bombing, getting bomber, still we have fun. There's nothing sure, the rich get rich and the poor get poor. In the meantime, in between time, ain't we got fun? Tax collectors getting closer, still we have fun. Twins and cares, dear, come in pairs, dear, don't we have fun? We've only started, no, we're not downhearted. When I'm laid off, I'll be paid off, ain't we got fun? Landlord mad and getting madder, ain't we got fun? Times are bad and getting badder, still we have fun. There's nothing sure, the rich get rich and the poor get poor. In the meantime, in the free time, ain't we got fun? Well, I hope we have fun today. Some people showed up in the chat. Unfinished this journey. Hey, gang. Mutually adventure. Yes. I haven't read that book in decades. Well, we're up to chapter 5 for the Time Machine. If you want to see the other chapters, you can go back. I always read them at the end of this. At the end, so you can actually go back and listen to the other live streams and catch up on it. Well, yeah, but we get to the wheel. Do one more song on with the wheel. How does that sound? So let's see what the wheel gives us. You must have been a beautiful baby. All right, that's a good one. You must have been a beautiful baby. You must have been a wonderful child. When you were only starting to go to kindergarten, you must have drove the little boys wild. And when it came to winning blue ribbons, you must have shown the other kids how. I can see the judge's eyes as they handed you the prize. You must have made the cutest bow. Oh, you must have been a beautiful baby, 'cause baby, look at you now. Does your mother realize the stork delivered quite a prize the day he left you on the family tree? Does your dad appreciate that you're merely super great? The miracle of any century. If they don't, just send them both to me. Oh, you must have been a beautiful baby. You must have been a wonderful child. When you were only starting to go to kindergarten, you must have drove the little boys wild. And when it came to winning blue ribbons, you must have shown the other kids how. I can see the judge's eyes as they handed you the prize. You must have made the cutest bow. Oh, you must have been a beautiful baby, 'cause baby, look at you now. Sure, I'll take some requests as long as I know them. And I don't do anything that's not in the public domain. Or I also do Tom Lehrer since he has given permission to open up his library to people to use. Tonight I've got, of course, my traditional Tullamore Dew honey. Helps with the throat. And of course, you always gotta pair it with some water, or when you're on live stream. How about we get to the artist for today? Now, it's a little bit behind in schedule. Let's getting this up here. We have Eska Escalafid, Aphid, Escalafid, I guess. I'll get it eventually. We can see some of the artwork here. Nice little lithograph kind of style. Almost kind of reminds me of sort of children's books I used to read even when I was little. But now you're wondering what kind of children's books I read. That was a neat one. Let's go over to they got a Ko-fi here, so you can take a look at some of their stuff here. Are they taking do they mention taking commissions? Bugs, monsters, eyes, and teeth stickers. Okay, that's what we're looking at here. Some stickers you can get off of their Ko-fi. Oh, that was a neat one. Let's have a look at it. I can't. Yeah. They also have a website. Give this a little howdy. Links in store. Oh, there's our commissions. Sorry, I still need to make a proper commission information sheet. In general, we rate is $30 hour of work, and with most simple to moderately complex pieces taking in between 1 to 3 hours. I rarely accept complicated commissions. Lots of characters in this complex environment and subject out of my usual wheelhouse. Because they're stressful to work on and then take forever to do. And at the moment, they are not worth the money to me and would probably not be worth the amount I'd end up charging potential commissioners. All right, so there's your commission thing. To get in contact at Gmail. So just go to Gmail. You really should put your Gmail account in full instead of just saying Iska Aphid at Gmail there. But alright, we've got links to stores, the Ko-fi sticker store, Imprint, probably for Redbubble. So you got shirts and stuff you can probably get. Let's have a little bit more look at the artwork. 2005 stuff. Let's see what the latest stuff is. See, we saw some of the stuff from the Blue Sky account. Got looks like a centipede with a revolver. a colored art one. Looks like they're your lead character for their thing. It's very interesting that this kind of abstract tea kettle cups design they have. Like it. Art for others. I guess these are some of the commissions they've done. Melted wax monster candle thing. I am. Yeah. Other doodles. Sketches, some of the pieces I already completed it above. Others I hope to render in Reeling and can paint next year. Okay, so there are some digital stuff they did, and they wanted to just do it in like real ink. I think at some point. Yeah, it works. Yeah, okay. Yes, my selection for pre-birth. I don't think I can do that one, unfortunately. Well, I kind of just select these artists at random, so whatever I happen to come across, either on Twitter, X, or Blue Sky, usually. So if I happen to see you and you happen to do any kind of art, it doesn't really matter what type. Mostly, I'm usually looking at obviously looking at drawings, but that's if you do like crochet or anything like that, I'll probably feature you as well at some point. Feel a little disorganized right now for some reason, even though I got myself all prepared here for this. Let's see what the wheel has to say. Yeah, usually sung by a woman, but put up with my singing for it. To do. I was oh so blue till you came along, just to make my life a wonderful song. You brought sunshine just to brighten my loneliness. Is it any wonder in my happiness I confess? Do I want you? Oh my, do I? Honey, did I do? Do I need you? Oh my, do I? Honey, did I do? I'm glad that I'm the one who found you. That's why I'm always hanging around you. Do I love you? Oh my, do I? Honey, did I do? There are a lot of others that I have met. Those you meet today, tomorrow forget. You're the only one who ever could stand the test. That's the reason why I choose you from the rest. You're the best. Do I want you? Oh my, do I? Honey, did I do? Do I need you? Oh my, do I? Honey, did I do? Yeah, not too bad, I guess. Well, I hope you guys brought your earplugs for this. Yeah, so, they got another song. And what are we gonna get? Gene with light brown hair. Oh, but sometimes they get stuck in my head, and then everything sounds like Genie with light brown hair. Yeah, get myself some. Ah, get the crud out of my throat here. I dream of Jeannie with the light brown hair, born like a vapor on the summer air. I see her tripping where the bright streams play, happy as the daisies that dance on her way. Many were the wild notes her merry voice would pour, many were the blithe birds that warbled them o'er. Oh, I dream of Jeannie with the light brown hair, floating like a vapor on the soft summer air. I long for Jeannie with the day dawn smile, radiant in gladness, warm with winning guile. I hear melodies like joys gone by, sighing around my heart, oh, the fond hopes that die. Sighing like the night wind, sobbing like the rain, will for the lost of that comes not again. Oh, I long for Jeannie, and my heart bows low, never more to find her where the bright waters flow. I sigh for Jeannie, but her light form strayed far from the fond heart round her native glade. Her smiles have vanished, her sweet songs flown, flitting like the dreams that have cheered us and gone. Now the nodding wildflowers may wither on the shore, while her gentle fingers will cull them no more. Oh, I sigh for Jeannie with the light brown hair, floating like a vapor on the soft summer air. It's actually kind of a sad song when you think about the lyrics. Oh, what do we have here? Jedi Master, hello. Good to see you here. Blue Moon, huh? Come on, let's see here. 1934 song. It's a little out of, maybe in 4 years we can do that one. Close. Well, thank you for stopping by. If you can only stay for a short time. Okay. Let's see. Well, I suppose a song about Jeannie passing is a good segue into a little bit of news of somebody passing. So, of course, we had the loss of Clive Revell, the voice of the Emperor and The Empire Strikes Back, and of course the voice of Alfred Pennyworth in the Batman animated series. That's pretty much the roles I remember him most by. Clive Revell, the New Zealand native who, after being recruited to be an actor by Lawrence Oliver, starred in Broadway appearance in 2 films for Billy Wilder, and provided the original voice of the evil Emperor Palpatine in The Empire Strikes Back, which unfortunately in some of the remake stuff gets replaced. He died. He was 94. Well, I say had a good long life. Revell died March 11 at a care facility in Sherman Oaks after a battle with dementia. His daughter, Kate Revell, told The Hollywood Reporter, "Oh man, dementia is a rough thing to have to deal with. My grandfather died with that." The extremely versatile Revell played Ka Thompson Otto, Freemanger's buddy. He is missing. Starring Oliver. You're in J. Mixing means Glasgow Hope in 1966. Starring Warren Betty. He not one, not no, not one, but two character. Scotsman and the Arab have been just as blows. He is modestly he blue blaze and a physicist investigating strange goings on at the haunted mansion in John and whose legend of Hell House. Decent movie. Starring Rod Eddie McDowell. A veteran of the Royal Shakespeare Company, Reville also appeared 7 times on Broadway, receiving Tony nominations for his turns in 2 musicals. Also, as the barding Inquisitor. I hope my reading gets better for the story later tonight. Proprietor Bobley Hotus in 1961 and Irma in Don is in as is Fagin in 1963 as Oliver. For Wilder, he portrayed a man representing a Russian ballerina in the private life of Sherlock Holmes. His character is led to believe that Holmes and Dr. Watson are gay, and the besieged hotel manager Carlo in Evanity, which earned him a Golden Globe nomination. Of course, Star Wars Episode 5, The Emperor Strikes Back, actor Irvin Krishner called upon Revelle. The two had worked together on the 1966 film A Fine in Madness, to record a couple of menacing lines in the Wilshire Boulevard studio in Los Angeles. They would be used in the pivotal scene in which Darth Vader, James Earl Jones, communicates with the Emperor as a holographic projection. Well, if you don't know that, then you really need to go and watch Empire Strikes Back. At least those first 3 movies. Reville would be replaced on the 2004 DVD release of the film. Boo. I mean, the guy did a decent job in all his Emperor, but come on, let him keep his role. Who went on to play the character in Return of the Jedi in the franchise is 3 prequels, but he had his fans nonetheless. They come up to me and I tell them to get close and shut their eye. He said in the 2015 interview. Then I say in the Emperor's haunting voice, there is a great disturbance in the Force. I don't do voices very well. People turn white and once nearly fainted. Oh, that is so cool. I would have loved to be able to just imagine being able to be one of those people meeting this guy and he's doing that voice for you. And that would have been awesome. One of 2 sons, Clive and Sybil Revelle. Revelle was born on April 18th, 1930 in Washington, in New Zealand, and his mother, Eleanor, was a homemaker and an opera singer, and his father, Mallet, was a carpenter. A great fan of Shakespeare, Revelle was working as an actuary in a bank when he met Oliver and his wife, the actress Vivian Leigh, who were on a tour of New Zealand. Oliver told him to come to his old Vic theater school in Bristol to study acting, and Revelle raised the money to make the trip to New England in 1950. He struggled all the way from home, and I had my down outside at one point when I thought, I can't do it. I can't do this. I can't find it within myself. Ravel recalled in a 2017 interview who I had a marvelous talk with a woman who was in charge of movement in school, and she took me aside and said, "You've got to go back to within in yourself and find in your truth within yourself. And if you can find in that truth, never lose it, because it's more than a ring on a finger. Or it's the absolute innermost most line within in your life and your spirit." Not bad advice. Reville, who regained his confidence in 1952, who made his Broadway debut in Mr. Pickwick, based on Charles Dickens' The Pickwick Papers. He then joined the RSC in 1964, starring in a bathtub as Jean Paul Marrett, alongside Patrick McGee as the Marquise de Shade, in a production of Marrett at Sade. Revelle returned to Broadway in 1967 and to star her as Sheridan in Whiteside in the musical Sherry. In 1971 to star her in Max Spierador in the incomparable Max. In 1975 to play the Professor Moriarty in Sherlock Holmes. In 1981 to star her as Clancy Quilty in Edward Albee's his adaptation of Lolita. Quite a career this guy had. He could play all manner of ethnicities. He's in his big screen body of work included The Double Man. He played all manner of ethnicities. He could play all manner of ethnicities. That's becoming a lost art. Fathom in the Assassination Bureau, a seven-eared head in the Black Windmill. Oh, one of our dinosaurs is missing. Zora, the gay blade. My eyes want to start going cross-eyed. Robin Hood, Men in Tights, Dracula, Dead and Loving It, and The Queen of Spain, which was, as far as I know, his last film. Revelle will portray an Irishman in 1978 on Peter Falk's last episode of the original Columbo series, and showed up on everything from Maud Heart to Heart, Dynasty, Remington and Steel, Murder, She Wrote, and Babylon and 5 to Magnum PI, Newhart, MacGyver, Dear John, The Fallen Guy, and Star Trek, The Next Generation. Yeah, he did a lot of one-off bit parts throughout his career. So he's probably one of those faces that you've seen and didn't realize you saw. In addition to Emperor Palpatine, he played other Star Wars characters in video games and was Alfred the Butler on Batman the Animated Series in 1992. Survivor also include his granddaughter Kayla. I love that name, Kayla. Yep, that's that. But thinking, instead of doing the usual parting glass, I'd probably cover his demise with Danny Boy. And that's not Danny Boy. There we are. Oh, Danny Boy, the pipes are calling. From glen to glen and down the mountainside. The summer's gone and all the roses falling. It's you must go, and I must bide. But come ye back when summer's in the meadow, or when the valley's hushed and white with snow. 'Tis I'll be here in sunshine or in shadow. Oh Danny boy, I love you so. But when ye come and all the flowers are dying, if I am dead, as dead I will may be, ye come and find the place where I am lying, and kneel and say an Ave for me. And I shall hear through soft ye tread above me, and all my grave will warmer, sweeter be. For you will bend and tell me that you love me, and I shall sleep in peace until you come to me. So, one more song I was thinking about debuting here tonight. I'm kind of practicing this one. It kind of feels like, sort of feels appropriate to put it here, or after the goodbye. He's here. This one is Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. I'm sure you've recognized that song. Goes back to a slave song, and there are several little sources that suggest that in the song "Steal Away," there are references to the Underground Railroad that the freedom movement that helped black people will escape from the southern slavery to the north in Canada. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. I'm sometimes up, I'm sometimes down, coming for to carry me home. But still my soul feels heavenly bound, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. I look over Jordan, and what did I see? Coming for to carry me home. A band of angels coming after me, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. All right. Yeah, got purple. Greetings, sentient beings. Don't worry about it. At least you show up. And you're just in time too. We're going to be covering a little bit more stuff here. I was just debuting the song "Sweet Chariot" here. Let's see. That's part of that. Yeah, we'll cover this part first. Let's see. Pull this up. And that, I do mean that. Helps if I don't close things back out. Okay. So, what we're looking at here is a behind the scenes look at the original design for the leader in Captain America Brave New Worlds. Now, this is what we could have gotten. Instead, what they gave us was wherever the hell this is. Now, just so you get at the difference here, or for those of you who are not familiar with the leader, this is what the leader should look like from the comic book. So, which one would you say was a better piece of work for the leader? Our behind the scenes dummy head that wasn't used, or whatever this is? I'll let you decide on that. It's a little quick thing, but this kind of shows you just how Marvel keeps screwing things up. Yeah, it's more comic book accurate. Instead, they gave us something that wasn't comic book accurate for some reason. That's kind of the whole issue. But well, let's get to a couple more songs here. How about that? I'm not sure who played it. It helps if I stop closing my tabs. So I can actually do stuff here. Song will I be getting this time? Blue Skies. I was blue, so blue as I could be. Every day was a cloudy day for me. Then good luck came a knocking at my door. Skies were gray, but they're not gray anymore. Blue skies smiling at me. Nothing but blue skies do I see. Bluebirds singing a song. Nothing but bluebirds all day long. Never saw the sun shining so bright. Never saw things going so right. Noticing the days hurrying by. When you're in love, my how they fly. Blue days, all of them gone. Nothing but blue skies from now on. I should care if the wind blows east or west. I should fret if the worst looks the best. I should mind, they say it can't be true. I should smile, that's exactly what I'll do. Blue days, all of them gone. Nothing but blue skies from now on. A nice stripper tune, huh? Yeah. I kind of get a melancholy feel from it for some reason. Maybe it's just the way they do it. Let's see what else we get. Oh. It had to be you. That's interesting. I don't think I've actually done this song on here or yet for you guys. Give me some drink here. Why do I do just as you say? Why must I always give you your way? Why do I sigh? Why don't I try to forget? It must have been that something lovers call fate kept on saying I had to wait. I saw them all, just couldn't fall till we met. It had to be you. It had to be you. I wandered around and finally found somebody who could make me be true and make me be blue and even be glad just to be sad thinking of you. Some others I've seen might never be mean, might never be cross or try to be boss, but they wouldn't do, for nobody else gave me a thrill. For all your faults, I love you still. It had to be you, wonderful you. It had to be you. Seems like dreams, like I always had. Could be, should be, making me glad. Why am I blue? It's up to you to explain. Maybe, baby, I'll go away. And someday, some way, you'll come and say, it had to be you. It had to be you. I wandered around and finally found somebody who could make me be true and make me be blue and even be glad just to be sad thinking of you. Some others I meet might never be mean, might never be cross or try to be boss, but they wouldn't do, for nobody else gave me a thrill. For all your faults, I love you still. It had to be you, wonderful you. It had to be you. Interesting, this one came up. I happened to be thinking about it earlier in this week. Huh. Interesting idea. Moving right along here. It's time 8:40, 8:45. I should definitely get to the one of the main attractions of the show here. Come on, let's get all the way up. Okay. Share screen. Helps if I do that. The Time Bandits. Terry Gilliam first came up up with the idea in 1979. He had wanted to do an entire movie from a kid's point of view. The only problem was that he felt he needed to give the protagonist, this child, a group of people of similar height to surround him. As a kid, he couldn't carry an entire movie. I have to disagree with that idea because we've seen plenty of kids just be able to carry an entire movie. He's possibly before and since. He combined those thoughts with the concept of committing crimes while time traveling, making it possible to get away with the thievery because it had not happened yet. The whole notion of casting a movie with little people came from writer and producer and director Terry Gilliam's memories of growing up in the San Fernando Valley, where circa used to roll into town each year, and local kids would find odd jobs with them. Interesting inspiration. According to Terry Gilliam, David Rep- uh, Rappaport believed he got his part for his acting ability alone, and without outside his being a contributing factor. As a result, he didn't socialize with his co-stars during the invisible barrier scene. And when the other bandit retaliate against Randall, the actors were expressing their frustration with Rappaport. There was a seventh member of the Time Bandits mentioned, Horseflesh. There is a scene where Randall mentions Horseflesh. He said that Horseflesh was dead, although they don't call him by name in the movie, except for that one part. Horseflesh, Marcus Powell, is seen in the movie. Through a subplot or a deleted scene, it turns out that Horseflesh is a member of Evil Genius, his team. He met at the same point. He turned on his friends. He can be seen in several little scenes, as we just mentioned. This is him here. And do I have another shot of? Yeah, and he's right there too, in the far left. So possibly in a deleted scene, we see him where he turned on his fellow team. In an interview for the website, the playlist is from June 2023. Terry Gilliam criticized the show. This is the 2024 TV series remake that we're looking at, by the way. For shortage of dwarves, in quotes. Whereas he took pride that on Time Bandits, and its short actor who usually were hidden inside costumes, relegated to small parts, were out. In quotes, and they were not now action heroes, as he stated. Gilliam claims that he's very disconnected from the production, and after he lost control of the film's rights when the production company he handmade films was sold to other companies. So I guess he wasn't too happy with the change of having the bandits, which is what we're looking at, not be the little people. And I have to agree with him on that one. And I'll get a little bit more into this later on, and right after this. Craig Warnock, who played Kevin, and won the role after a wide search for the right child actor. An agent had seen Ian Warnock's brother and sent him to an audition. That Craig went in with him as merely a coincidence. Terry Gilliam, however, took more interest in Craig than his sibling, noting that the young man seemed rather intelligent, yet aloof and quiet. as opposed to the stereotypical cute little boy. On his first day of filming, Craig Warnock was reportedly he's so overwhelmed at meeting Sir Sean Connery that their close-ups had to be shot separately until the boy had adjusted to the veteran actor's presence. Reportedly, he got Connery's own suggestion. In his part of the audio commentary, Warnock says he remembers Miss Connery being very friendly and down to earth. And joked that the scene where he rode off into the desert with Connery on horseback probably made more women jealous than kids. It was Sir Sean Connery's idea for Agamemnon to do magic tricks for Kevin, which is what we're seeing him do right here in that one scene. In the original script, King Agamemnon was introduced as the warrior. The warrior took off his helmet, revealing someone that looks exactly like Sean Connery, or an actor of equal but cheaper stature. To writer, producer, and director Terry Gilliam, surprised, the script ended up in Connery's hands. He expressed interest in the part and had his agent approached them for the role. Sean Connery, who was well aware of the tight budget of the film, and told Terry Gilliam he would take a greatly reduced paycheck for this film. Thought to be around 250,000, about a tenth of his usual fee at the time. Apparently, Connery was impressed at the fact that this film would have widespread appeal to children. Plus, he liked the idea that he would be playing a historical character. According to Gillian, Connery he agreed to do it provided his fee he be paid directly to him and not his agent, thus bypassing the agent's usual 10% cut, as Connery wanted to deliberately irritate his agent. Nice. Agamemnon was originally supposed to appear at the climatic battle against the evil genius, leading an army of Greek soldiers and being killed. But it could not be worked into Sir Sean Connery's schedule. They only had him for about 2 weeks, as his role was small. Having Connery appear as the fireman, and at the end of end is the compromise they devised is to bring things full circle for Kevin. Agamemnon's death was given into Fidget. Sir Sean Connery he was actually the one who suggested that he appear as one of the firefighters near the end of the movie. In the screenplay, when the Supreme Being, played by Sir Ralph Richardson, chases after Kevin and the gang, he initially appears as a classical depiction of God, robes with a white beard, etc., etc. A picture of this version of the Supreme Being appeared in a published book of the screenplay, suggesting that Supreme Being scenes were filmed as written, but ultimately the classical depiction was replaced with the floating head version of the Supreme Being seen in the movie, which is what we're looking at here. It was an awesome effect too. They actually did a better job with this effect than they did with the 2024 series. Sir Ralph Richardson took his role so seriously that he submitted his own red ink edits, is complete with the message, "God wouldn't say that." Oh, and a little side note, I didn't put it down, but this is actually his own personal suit that he's wearing for the scene. Sir Ralph Richardson came up with the idea of disposing of the pieces of evil genius in the post box. I noticed a lot of ideas for this movie came from the actors. Evil Genius's apparatus on its head. It was influenced by H.R. Geiger's his work, or Giger's, I'm not really sure correct pronunciation, on Alien in 1979, which also featured Ian Holm, who played the evil genius. Here's another front view of the helmet. Jonathan Pryce was offered the role of evil genius, but had been offered a loophole at the same time. Loophole paid twice as much as Time Bandits, so I went for a loophole because I needed the money, he said. Pryce got the lead role in Terry Gilliam's next movie, Brazil, which is what we're seeing a shot of here, in 1985, and later he recalled that anytime he had to do anything difficult in Brazil, such as being hanged from wires or strapped down and tortured, as we kind of see him going about here, Gilliam would say to him, "This is your punishment for saying no." In the movie, one of Napoleon's general says Napoleon is 5'1". Some sources say he was really 5'6". See, Ian Holm is 5'6" in real life. Playing that. Terry Gilliam laughed so hard shooting the table scene, and with Sir Ian Holmes as Napoleon in Bonaparte, that he had to leave the set to avoid ruining any takes of said scene. Gilliam says in the commentary track that the live pig scene in the final battle came on board with an animal trainer who said that his pig was special and could do all sorts of tricks. But the trainer would command him, the pig would do nothing. But the trainer was convinced that it had pulled off the trick. Gilliam mused, "There are a lot of mad people involved in movie making, but perhaps the most mad are the animal trainers." Speaking about animal training, it took several weeks to train the horse to jump out of the closet. I guess he was a bit afraid of hitting the door and all that. The miniature bullhead prop was also used in Gladiator. And here we see the bullhead prop up here in Time Bandits, and here it is in Gladiator almost 20 years later. When developing the sequel for his computer RPG Ultima, Richard Garriott, aka Lord British, watched multiple showings of the movie in the theater and incorporated the time holes and other concepts into the game in Ultima 2, Revenge of the Enchantress, which I used to have this on the Commodore 64. I had to include this bit of trivia just because of that. And I actually have the fabric map that we see here on screen. It's really cool thing you can get out with the game. No studio wanted to make this movie, so executive producer George Harrison and Dennis O'Brien mortgaged their office buildings in Cadogan Square to raise the 5 million and to make it. That's some dedication right there. You don't really see that anymore nowadays. And of course, it had to end with a bang. Executive producer Dennis O'Brien was against the ending of Kevin's parents blowing up. And writer or producer and director Terry Gilliam had to fight it to keep it in the movie. O'Brien was only convinced that the violent ending could stay after an advanced screening of the movie was held for an audience full of children. The first child who was asked what his favorite moment of the movie was, excitedly he proclaimed, "The parents being blown up." I like this kid. I always thought the parents were kind of idiots. It's in this movie. But as I mentioned, they did make a it's something all kids dream of. Yeah, imagine. Child of my own art. Yeah, no. But they did make a remake of this movie as a TV series. And I basically sat and binged this whole series. It's only one season, fortunately, and I don't really have too much good to say about it, unfortunately. Uh, as far as soulless remakes go, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. I mean, they were at least trying to keep with the spirit of the show, though in some ways I'm not sure if that was really the best idea, oddly enough. Uh, for starters, the opening theme was kind of this digital mess, sort of a beeping sound like thing. I think it would have been better if they had used just brass instruments to play the theme song. I mean, they could have used the same notes just through brass instruments. It would have just made it sound a whole lot better, personally. And if you haven't seen this, as you can see, it's on Apple TV. Or uh, the kid they got to portray our main protagonist is kind of came across as if it's somebody who is autistic. Uh, Given his obsession with history, they kind of amplified that from the movie. But I don't think that's what they were trying to go for, or they had in mind. As for the parents, they went from being obsessed as to kitchen appliances to the latest technology. The behavior of the parents kind of makes me think of what our current generation might be like, like once they grow up, just constantly obsessed with the phones and technology, to the point of ignoring the real world around them. uh, One nice little addition, though, is that there are a number of the historical facts that the kid it mentions throughout the movie are actually pretty accurate. Like, for instance, he mentions that Vikings didn't have horned helmets, and they actually show the Viking here with no horned helmet, which is pretty nice little addition in to have. Penelope, played by Elisa Kudrow, who is the not leader of the Bandits. She seems like she's still playing Phoebe from Friends, though. Uh, Charlene Yi, I think that's how it's pronounced. Yi, uh, who played the bandit Judy. You report her as having been physically assaulted on set. Okay, this part I need to pull up a little something else on this. So here we are, her Instagram. uh, she ended being forced to leave. Even her character was written out of the show. But little thing on her assault on set. Uh, my abuser pressed his body on me from behind, and to the point I had to dig my feet into the ground to keep my stand and during rehearsals and filming. I tried to shove him off, and he pushed down and harder, er, till I felt my lower back compress, sending in sharp pain through my whole body. I went into shock and denial. He did this multiple times, and I disassociated. When I went into the bathroom to throw up from the pain, he asked me where I was going, and something he never asked. It doesn't mention any names. The doc on set gave me codeine for my chronic pain, but that only made me numb and high. That did not fix my injury or protect me from my abuser. At a later day, my abuser entered my hair and makeup trailer, which he had a different trailer. He dropped off a jar of honey in front of me without no eye contact and walked away. I asked, "What's this for?" And he replied on his exit that it was a gift, and everyone awed. He wanted to publicly control his image after the abuse, his narcissism, covert narcissism. But the abuse did not stop. He again pressed his body on me again, knowing of my injury, and changed blocking where we stand and during filming, and even though it would ruin continuity, narcissism, and abuse. He passed by in my waiting tent and laughing and making loud comments to others so I could hear laughing about reporting him to HR. I was stonewalled, to be grateful for being on a high production set by a producer who told my back would be fine, minimizing the physical assaults. I told them I was scared, could barely stand upright without being in chronic pain, and mentally was not doing well. Shaking in panic attack, unable to make it on set, vomiting, unable to sleep because of flashbacks, and losing hair. A high production job meaning big money and power that can dispose of you and sweep you under the rug, treating you inhumanely, providing their deep lack of humanity, prioritizing people's careers in a fictional world, then protecting those marginalized and targeted. That's terrible. So that's what was going on behind the scenes of this shit show. Yeah, it doesn't name names. Unfortunately, I don't know who it is. Imagine if I watch closely, we could probably get an idea of who it is from the scenes. But yeah. But this is one of her last scenes in the show, so you can actually kind of see how out of it she is compared to earlier scenes. If you were to watch watch the series, you can see that she's got really baggy eggs here. So it seems quite believable that she was under a lot of stress and pain. In fact, here you can actually see in this shot of this group, there she is. There, she doesn't have the bags or anything under her eyes in that one. But this is also the illustrate one of the bigger problems with the show is replacing the little people. The new paint and it's a more diverse group, but could have had the same thing with a group of little people. If that's what you really wanted to have for your bandits. No, it's not bad. Not bad. I mean, they look like a motley crew who mismatched motley crew that way. It works actually. Having adding the diversity to the group. I'll be honest with on that front. Uh, Perhaps, but to perhaps add some insult to the injury here on this front is they actually did have a group of little people who were talking about forming a second group of bandits as a B plot, but the B plot never goes anywhere. I think it was intended to be a more or mainstream plot in the second season, which never happens. Since they had the people well, at their disposal, they should have just used that group for their time bandits. This is the main group. At least they gave them jobs, which is more than I can say about some um, production Snow White. But the big thing about having them in the first place was that they were front and center, or they were center stage. They were the heroes of the movie. That's what was so monumental about having them in the first place. On the point of the time bandits, they would kind of have this goofy, quirky he, behavior, which is what we saw all from the movie. But they made the bandits imbeciles in the series. They tried to capture the comedic tone from the movie and the series with the behavior of the historical figures. We did see a lot of the historical figures acting pretty goofy and imbecilic, but that didn't really land in this series. It actually ended up making the characters just feel really two-dimensional. I think it would have been better if they had gone on with making the historical settings and everything feel very realistic and serious. Then and have that contrasted with the bandits' goofy, quirky behavior, would have just made it feel a lot more engaging, and made it feel a lot more of its own thing, rather than just trying to create a shallow recreation of the movie. And honestly, even though the special effects were obviously more technically advanced, they just didn't feel as they didn't seem as impressive as the original movie for some reason. Even though the original movie didn't really use that great of the special effects weren't that huge or great. Like this, for instance, we're looking at here is the this is what the time portals look like in the new series. They're just kind of holes that kind of open up, whereas the technical of it was just it's like sort of this black box that would open up and you would walk through them. But even though it was obviously a less technical advanced way of doing it, somehow looked better here in the movie, I think. The bandits were tree and shrubbery makers in the movie, and in this one they are shrubbery designers. Here's as well. But I was thinking if they really wanted to lean into Gilliam's humor, they should have added a little homage with having a "bring me a shrubbery" joke in there or someplace. Now, because of poor ratings, this thing ended up getting canceled. Well, and it ended up being canceled on a cliffhanger, which is another big thing that when you're making a series or something like this, you need to keep in mind. Don't end your shows on cliffhangers if you don't have a second season greenlit to cover those cliffhangers. Just a big mistake right there. Uh, what I'm from the manager. A lot of humor from the Monty Python and crew. It was about them doing ridiculous scenes in everyday settings. Yeah, exactly. So having the more serious tone of the historical settings, but giving them more of the ridiculous I think would have made it actually feel a lot more, or would have worked a lot better for the series. Plus, it would, like I said, it would have made it stand out a little bit more. I almost forgot. I have a radio broadcast to play for you guys.
Detective, starring the world's greatest magician, Blackstone. He tells you the inside story of the reluctant buzzsaw. And right after the story, Blackstone will explain tricks of magic that you yourself can perform, revealing the guarded secrets of the world's greatest magician. And now to Blackstone's Magic Studio.
Welcome, Mr. Hancock. We were expecting you.
Why, thank you, Blackstone.
I suppose you've come to have Blackstone tell you another of his magical adventures.
Well, yes, I have, Miss Brent. But tell me something first. Why do you have that tremendous buzzsaw over there?
Oh, they use that to cut me in half every night.
Oh, that's very... What? But do you have to use such a big buzzsaw to slice such a charming young lady?
Well, we're always trying to improve our magical illusions, which reminds me of when we were first building this particular one. It all happened while we were traveling through the South. After the show, the boys put the finishing touches on the illusion. I was going over it backstage when Rhoda rushed in as though a ghost were after her.
Blackstone.
Well, what is it, Rhoda? Why, you're all excited.
Oh, I ought to be excited. I was just coming out of the lunchroom when some men ran out of the bank across the
At
street.
this time of night?
That's right. They were wearing masks and carrying bags.
Did they see you?
I don't know. But when they drove away, I saw the license number of their car, and I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget it. I have the piece of paper right here in my bag. Oh, I'm so nervous I can't find it.
Calm yourself, Rhoda. Here, give me the bag. I'll find it.
Look out behind you!
How did you fellows get here? And who are you?
Never mind, Dash. Get those hands up, both of you. Get down, we'll let you have it.
Very well.
Well, that was easy. What do you say, Jake?
I say the same thing, Clipper. Want to keep that guy Blackstone covered.
So what? He can't do no sleight of hand with his mitts up in the air, can he?
You never can tell, Clipper.
Lay off the wisecracks, magician. Just keep reaching. Hurry up, Jake. Find out what's in that Jane's handbag.
Yeah, give me time.
There's nothing important in that bag.
No? We saw the dame writing something. So look for a hunk of paper, Jake.
Yeah, Clipper. Yeah, here it is.
What's on it?
Hey, it's our license number. That dame spotted us.
So wise, dame. You did spot our number.
But I don't think I remember it.
Well, we think you do. What do I do now, Clipper? Give her a slight case of lead poisoning?
Don't be a dope. Want the cuffs on her neck? We'll do this the smart way.
No murder is smart, Clipper.
You don't think so, magician? Well, you'll find out different.
You bet you will, magician. Clipper plays everything smart.
And this is going to be very smart. We'll get rid of the girl and pin it on Blackstone.
That's very foolish, Clipper. People have tried that sort of thing before.
And if you killed me, nobody in the world would ever suspect Blackstone.
You don't think so? Well, I see just what I need. Get a load of that buzzsaw over there.
Hey, that's a big one, ain't it?
That's right. I've got a big idea to go with it.
What's that, Clipper?
See that board lying right in front of it?
Yeah?
Those two straps hanging on the post?
Yeah?
All right, Jake. Take the girl and strap her to the board.
Then carry it right in front of the big buzzsaw.
Wait, Clipper. You can't do that.
One move out of you, Blackstone, I'll let you have it.
I forgot that license number. Really, I did. I don't...
Grab it, chick.
No, leave me alone. John, I wouldn't have written it down if I thought I could remember it.
Get hold of her wrist. They can't behind her, chick.
Leave me alone.
Gentlemen. You may depend on that. You'll be sorry for it.
Hey, Clipper, I think she's fainted. Forget about those straps. Yeah, then that makes it simple.
You can't go through with this, Clipper.
Go through with what? The buzzsaw? We'll leave that to the buzzsaw. Ready, Jake? Yeah, I'm ready. All right, let me get this plank in front of the saw. Put your gun down. Get that saw started. I got him covered. Okay, Clipper.
I warn you, Clipper. I warn you, you're making a great mistake.
You'll get the blame for this mistake, Blackstone. Tomorrow the newspapers will have a nice little headline. Blackstone, famous magician, lets beautiful assistant get sliced by a buzzsaw.
Nobody will believe it, Clipper. Nobody.
One day, everybody will just think you were trying a new trick that didn't work. Ready with a switch. Here goes, Clipper. Let her go. Gee, Clipper, the way that dame yells. Quit mopping your forehead, Jake. Get a grip on yourself. Yeah, I gotta get a grip on myself. Get back there, pick up your gun, just in case the cops pay us a little visit.
The shoe's on the other foot, Clipper. We're going to pay a little visit to the police.
What do you mean?
Just look behind you, Clipper.
But drop your gun first, Clipper. I have you covered.
Who's the dame, Clipper? The one that you sawed in half.
You mean the girl you thought you sawed in half?
Yeah, Clipper, that's the dame. And she's got my gun.
Yes, and I know how to shoot it, too. So drop yours, Clipper.
Better drop it, Clipper. Rhoda is getting impatient.
You win, magician. That's my gun.
I'll keep them covered with Clipper's gun, Rhoda, while you get the police.
With pleasure.
Yeah, magician. You win, but I'd like to know how that girl's in one piece.
You'll have plenty of time to figure it out, Clipper. Just about 20 years.
But why wasn't Rhoda sawed in half, Blackstone?
Because that was a new illusion Blackstone was building.
That's right. Sawing a woman in half with a buzzsaw.
With a buzzsaw? Without hurting her?
Yes. Since then, I do it every show.
And does it always work?
I'll say it does. If it didn't, Rhoda wouldn't be here to tell you that it did.
It's like all of Blackstone's magic. It never fails.
But doesn't it ever worry you, Rhoda?
Well, never since that first tryout when we had those bank robbers as an audience.
And they are still wondering how it was done.
Yes, and you had me wondering, too, Blackstone. Just as you did with those tricks you showed us last time. We'd like to see some more of them.
Good. Well, here's one so easy it'll really fool you.
Well, that sounds intriguing. What do you use?
These coins here in my fist. Listen. Now, what do I have here?
Why, some coins in your fist.
Good. Do you know how many coins?
No, I don't.
Well, I'll tell you. I have 3 coins. Their value is exactly 35 cents. But one of them isn't a nickel.
You said 3 coins worth 35 cents.
That's right.
But one of them isn't a nickel.
That's right.
Now, wait now. A quarter and a dime.
Well, that would be 2 coins.
But I have 3 here. Exactly 3.
3 dimes?
No, that would be only 30 cents.
And my 3 coins make 35 cents.
Well, I give up. Let's see those wonderful coins.
There they are. A quarter and 2 nickels. 3 coins that total 35 cents.
But you said I have 3 coins, but one of them isn't a nickel.
Certainly. I was speaking of the quarter. It isn't a nickel, is it?
Why, no.
Well, there you are. 3 coins, but one of them isn't a nickel. Only the other 2 are. Catch on?
Say, that's a fooler. Sounds like one thing, but it means another. Yeah, but you won't fool me like that again, Blackstone.
Won't I? Well, let's try. Here we have 6 glasses, ordinary drinking glasses. I'm going to set them in a row.
6 glasses in a row. What next?
Now, Rhoda, start from the left and fill 3 glasses from this beverage bottle.
Here's 1.
And here's 2. And here's 3. Now, there you are. 6 glasses in a row. The three at the left are filled with the finest beverage.
But the three at the right are empty.
Exactly. Now, the trick is, you are to rearrange those glasses so that every odd one is full and every even one empty.
You mean so that there will be a full glass, then an empty, then another full glass, another empty, another full, and finally an empty.
That's right. We must finish with the glasses alternating full and empty.
Why, that's easy. If we move the one on the left and then the one on the right...
Wait a minute, Rhoda. You're only allowed to move one glass.
Only one glass?
That's right.
Why, it can't be done that easily.
Oh, yes, it can. Suppose we let Rhoda try to figure it out. I'll be back in a few moments to see how she's made out.
And now, Blackstone, those 6 glasses.
Well, there they are. 6 glasses. The 3 on the left are full of a most enticing beverage.
And the 3 on the right are empty.
Yes. Now you're to move one glass without touching any others and make the glasses full and empty alternately from left to right.
I just can't do it, Blackstone. I've been trying and trying.
Oh, watch. I'll show you how. I pick up the middle glass of the 3 full ones at the left.
But where are you going to put it?
It's not where I put that glass. What counts is where I put the beverage it contains.
Oh, you mean you're going to drink it?
Not yet. I'm going to pour the liquid from this glass into the middle glass of the 3 empties on the right. And now my original glass is empty. So I put it right back where I picked it up, between the 2 full glasses at the left.
And there you have it.
Say, that does solve it. Full, empty. See, that's the one you poured from. Full, empty, full. That's the one you poured into. And empty. Say, that's great.
I thought you'd enjoy it. And I'm sure our friends listening will also play it on their friends. And now, until we meet again, this is Blackstone saying good magic and goodbye.
Be with us next time when the world's greatest magician, Blackstone, tells us the story of the emerald in the fishbowl and explains more tricks that you yourself can perform. Listen to Blackstone, the world's greatest magician.
There we are. Hope you enjoyed that. I'll have that up in my as its own video, probably in the next few weeks or so. The tricks by Yankton is a fine in the front, and who didn't listen into the same radio broadcast you did it every week. Yeah, I guess so. I'm gonna have to try. I might have to track down a copy of that broadcast. Yes, that would be a good idea. Interestingly enough, this is actually the second episode of the Blackstone Magician Detective. The first one has more of a Halloween feel to it, so I'm saving it for then. As we'll get on to one more song to break things up here. Even though I'm running a little late here. I'm Henry VIII. I'm Henriette, I am Henriette, I am. I got married to a woodlook store. She'd been married 7 times before, and all of her friends are Henry, she'll never will her son, no son. I'm eighth old man, Henriette, I am. Second verse, same as the first. I'm Henriette, I am Henriette, I am. I got married to a next door. She's been married 7 times before, and all her friends with Henry. Henry should have a son. No son. I'm a old man. Henriette, I am. Oh, I'm Henriette, I am. Henriette, I am. I am. I got married to a next door. She's been married 7 times before, and everyone is named Henry. Henry should have a son. No son. I'm a old man. Henriette, I am. Henry. Henry. Henriette, I am. I am. Henriette, I am. Yeah. I didn't really much care for how that one turned out. Let's do one more, or just make up. Trying to keep a fuzzy. Oh, right. So speaking about fuzzies, someone just showed up here. We have a Molly. 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 Yes, Molly has to make an appearance. Onto the singing. Me and my shadow. Alright. Me and my shadow strolling down the avenue. Me and my shadow, not a soul to tell our troubles to. And when it's 12 o'clock, we climb the stairs. We never knock, 'cause no one's there. Just me and my shadow, all alone and feeling blue. It's a short one, but it works. Especially considering we need to get caught up onto the next part of it with Chapter 5 of The Time Machine, The Palace of Green Porcelain. Actually, while I'm reading this, how about I pull this up? It's a little something I was playing around with earlier. There you are. I mean, it's a little AI thing of what the Eloa, I think it would look like. I first put it into the. I actually ended up having to create a couple of designs here from AI, which didn't really come out too well. So I ended up having to put it into a third system, which was called Art Breeder, which is what we're looking at here. So I could fine-tune some of the designs. And giving basically, I just took the description from the book, put it into the AI prompts, see what it gave me, and the original little stuff kept, for some reason, creating elf ears with the pointed ears instead of a pointed chin. I put this in, took that image, I ran through one from Grok, put that in there, combined them, and then just made some tweaks using the Art Breeder settings to give it the look I was going for. I was trying to go for possibly what I would imagine Rene looked like, or Rena looked like, however pronounce the name. So, back to H.G. Wells' The Time Machine, Chapter 5. I found the place of the Palace of Green Porcelain, and when we approached it about noon, deserted and falling into ruin. Only ragged vestiges of glass remained in its windows. Its great sheets of the green facing had fallen away from the core corroded metallic framework. It lay very high upon the turfy down, and looking now eastward before he entered it. I was surprised to see large herds astray, or even creek, where I judged inch wonders worth and better to see would most once have been, must have once have been. I thought then, and though I never followed up the thought out of what might have happened, and or might be happening into the living things in the sea. The material of the palace proved on examination and to be indeed porcelain, and along the face of it I saw an inscription in some unknown character, or I thought rather foolishly that Winea might help me to interpret this. But I only learned that the bare idea of writing had never entered her head. She always seemed to me, I fancy, more human than she was. Perhaps because as her affection was so human. Within in the big valves of the door, which were open and then broken, and we found instead of the customary hall, a long gallery lit by many side windows at the first glance, and so I was reminded of a museum, and the tiled floor was thick with dust, and I remarked and the remarkable array of the miscellaneous objects was shrouded in the same gray covering. And then I perceived standing in string and gaunt in the center of the hall, while what was clearly the lower part of a huge skeleton. I recognized by the oblique feet that it was some extinct creature after the fashion of the Megatherium. The skull and the upper bones lay beside it in the thick dust, and in one place, where rainwater had dropped through a leak in the roof, if the thing itself had been worn away. Further in the gallery was the huge skeleton and barrel of a Brontosaurus. Yes, my museum hypothesis was confirmed. Going toward the side, I found what appeared to be sloping shelves of clearing away the thick dust I found in the old unfamiliar glass cases of our own time, but they must have been airtight to judge from the fair preservation of some of their contents. Clearly, we stood among the ruins of some latter-day South Kingston, and here apparently was the paleontological section in a very splendid array of fossils. It must have been, and through the inevitable process of decay that had been staved off for a time, and had through the extinction of bacteria and fungi, lost 99 of its force, was nevertheless with extreme sureness, if with an extreme slowness at work again upon all its treasures. Here and there I found traces of the little people in the shape of rare fossils broken into pieces, or threaded in strings upon reeds. And the cases had in some instances been bodily removed by the Morlocks as I judged. The place was very silent. Thick dust deadened in our footsteps. Weena, he, who had been enrolling in, you see, he urchin and around down on the sloping glasses of a case. Presently he came, and as he stared about me, and very quietly he took my hand and stood beside me. And that for so was so much surprised by this ancient monument of an intellectual age that I gave no thought to the possibility it presented. Even my preoccupation and about the time machine and receded it a little from my mind. To judge from the size of the place, this palace is of green porcelain and had a great deal more in it than a gallery of paleontology, possibly a historical gallery. It might be even a library. To me, at least in my present circumstances, these would be vastly more interesting than this spectacle of old-time geology in decay. Exploring, I found another short gallery running transversely to the first. This appeared to be devoted to minerals. It was in the sight of a block of sulfur set my mind in running on gunpowder. But I could find no saltpeter, or indeed no nitrate of any kind. Doubtless they had dilapidized ages ago. Yet the sulfur hung in my mind, and set up a train of thinking. And as for the rest of the contents of that gallery, though on the whole they were the best preserved of all I saw. I had little interest, as I am no specialist in mineralogy, and I went on down on a very ruinous aisle, running in parallel to the first hall I had entered. Apparently, this section had been devoted to natural history, but everything had long since passed out of recognition. A few shriveled and blackened vestiges of what had once been stuffed animal, those desiccated mummies and jars that had once held spirit about around dust of departed plants, and that was all. I was sorry for that, because I should have been glad to trace the patent readjustment in spy, which the conquest of animated nature had been attained. Then we came into a gallery of some simply colossal proportions, but singularly ill lit. The floor of it running downward at a slight angle from the end at which I entered at intervals. White globes hung from the ceiling, many of them cracked and smashed, with suggested that originally the place had been artificially lit. Here I was more in my element, and for rising on either side of me were the huge bones of big machines, all greatly corroded and many broken down, but some still fairly complete. You know, if I had a certain weakness for mechanisms, and I was inclined to linger among these. The more so as for the most part, they had the interest of puzzles, and I could make out the vaguest guesses as what that they were for. I fancy that if I could solve all their puzzles, I should find myself in position enough power as that might be of use against the Morlocks. Suddenly, Weena came very close to my side. She suddenly that so suddenly that he startled me. Had it not been for her, I do not think I should have noticed that the floor of the gallery sloped at all. Footnote: it may be, of course, that the floor did not slope, but that the museum was built into the side of a hill. This, and I had come in at was quite yet above of ground, and was still lit by a rare slit like windows. It was as you went down the length of the ground and came up against these windows. It was until at last there was a pit like the area of a London house before each and only a narrow line of daylight at the top. I went slowly along, puzzling about the machines, and had been too intent upon them to notice the gradual diminishing of the light until Wena's increasing apprehensions drew my attention. Then I saw all that the gallery ran down when at last into a thick darkness. I hesitated, and then, as I looked around me, I saw that the dust was less abundant and its surface less even. Further away towards the dimness, it appeared to be broken by a number of small, narrow footprints. My sense of immediate presence of the more revived at that. I felt that I was wasting my time. I mean, the academic examination of machinery. Called to mind, and that it was already far advanced in the afternoon, and that I had still no weapon, and no refuge, and no means of making a fire. And then down in the remote blackness of the gallery, I heard a particular pattering, and the same odd noises I had heard down on the well. I took Wena's hand, then struck with a sudden idea. I left her and turned into a machine from which she projected a lever, and not unlike those in a single signal box. Clambering upon the stand, and in grasping this lever in my hand, and as I put all my weight upon it sideways, suddenly Wena deserted in the center her aisle began to whimper. I had judged the strength of the lever pretty correctly, for it snapped after a minute's strain, and I rejoined her with a mace in my hand, and more than insufficient. I judged for any more skull I might encounter, and I longed very much to kill one Morlock, or so very inhuman, and you may think, to want to go killing one's own descendants. But it was impossible somehow to feel any humanity in the things. Only my disinclination is to leave Winnie is in the persuasions persuasion in that if I begin into sleep, my thirst for murder, my time machine might suffer, or restrain in me from going straight down the gallery and killing the brutes I heard. Well, May is in one hand and Rena in the other. I went out of that gallery into another and still larger one, in which at the first glance reminded me of a military chapel hung with tattered red flags. The brown and charred rags that hung from the sides of it. I presently recognized as the decaying vestiges of books. They had long hung and straw up to pieces, and every semblance of print it had left them. But here and there were boards and and crack metallic clasps that told the tale well enough. Had I been in a literary man, and I might perhaps have moralized upon on the futility of all ambition. But as it was, the thing that struck me with keenness for is the enormous waste of labor to which these somber while wilderness of writing paper testified. At the time, I will confess that I thought chiefly of the philosophical transactions. My own in 17 in paper is upon in physical optics. Then going up a broad staircase, we came to what may once have been in a gallery of technical chemistry. And here I had not a little hope of useful discoveries, except at that one end where the roof had collapsed. This gallery is well preserved. I went in eagerly to every unbroken case at last in one of the really airtight cases, as I found a box of matches. Very eagerly I tried them. They were perfectly good. They were not even damp. I turned into Weena, dance, and so I cried to her in her own tongue. For now I had a weapon indeed against the horrible creature as we feared. And so, in the derelict museum, upon the thick soft carpeting of dust, to Weena's huge delight, I solemnly he performed a kind of composite dance, whistling in the land end of the Lee, as cheerfully as he could. In part, it was as immodest as can. In part, a step dance. In part, a skirt dance. As far as my tail coat permitted, and in part original, for I am naturally inventive, as you know. Now, I still think that for this box of matches to have escaped the wear of time, and for or immemorable years was a most strange. As for me, it was a most fortunate thing. Yet, oddly enough, I found a far unlikelier substance, and that was camphor. I found it in a sealed jar, or that by chance, as I suppose, this had been really hermetically sealed. I fancied at first that it was paraffin and wax, and smashed the glass accordingly. But the odor of camphor was unmistakable. On the universal decay that volatile substance had chance to survive, perhaps through many thousands of centuries. It reminded me of a painting. I had once seen done from the ink of a fossil belemnite that must have perished to become fossilized millions of years ago. I was about to throw it away, but he remembered that it was this inflammable and burned in the good bright flame. Was it in fact an excellent candle? And he put it in my pocket. I found no explosives, however, nor any means of breaking down the bronze doors. As yet, my iron crowbar was the most helpful thing I had chanced upon. Nevertheless, I left that gallery greatly elated. I cannot tell you all the story of that long afternoon, for it would require a great effort of memory to recall all my exploration and at all the proper order. I remember a long gallery of rusting stands of arms, and how I hesitated between my crowbar and a hatchet or a sword. I could not carry both, however. In my crowbar of iron promised best against the bronze gates. There were numbers of guns and pistols and rifles. The most were masses of rust, but many were of some new metal and still fairly sound. But any cartridges or powder that may once have been had rotted into dust. One corner I saw was charred and shattered, or perhaps I thought by an explosion. And among the specimens, in another place was a vast array of idols, Polynesians, Mexi- Polynesians, Mexicans, Grecians, Phoenicians, and every country on earth, I should think. And here, yielding an irresistible impulse, also, I wrote my name upon the nose of a steep, light monster from South America that particularly looked my fancy. As the evening drew on, and my interest waned, I went through gallery after gallery, dust silent and often ruinous. The exhibit its sometimes mere heaps of rust and ignite. Sometimes fresher, or in one place, I suddenly found myself near the mall of a tin in mine. And then, by the mere accident, I discovered in an airtight case two dynamite cartridges. I shouted, "Eureka!" and smashed the case with joy. Then came my doubt. I hesitated, then selected a little side gallery. I made my essay. I never felt such disappointment as I did in waiting 5, 10, 15 minutes for an explosion that never came. Of course, the things were dummies, as I might have guessed from their presence. I really believe that had they not have been, and so I would have rushed off incontinently and blown and Sphinx bronze doors, and as it proved my chances of finding the time machine altogether into non-existence. It was after that, I think that we came to a little open court within the palace. Yes, it was turfed and had three fruit trees. So we rested and refreshed ourselves toward sunset. I began to consider our position. Night was creeping upon us, and my inaccessibility, hiding place, inaccessible hiding place, he said still to be found. But that troubled me very little now. I had it in my possession, and the thing that it was perhaps of the best of all defense against some Morlocks. I had matches. I had the camphor in my pocket too. If a blaze were indeed, it seemed to me that the best thing we could do it would be to pass the night in the open and protected by a fire, or in the morning. And there was the getting of the time machine. Towards that, as yet I had only my iron and mace. Yes, but now, with my growing knowledge, which I felt very differently towards those bronze doors. It was up to this, yes, I had refrained from enforcing them, and largely because it was of the mystery on the other side. They had never impressed me as being very strong, and I hope to find in my bar of iron and not altogether inadequate for the work. We emerged from the palace while the sun was still in part above the horizon. I was determined to reach the White Sphinx early the next morning. Ere the dusk, I proposed was pushing through the wood as I had stopped me on the previous journey. My plan was to go as far as possible all that night, and then, in building a fire, I was asleep deep in the protection of its glare. Accordingly, as we went along, I gathered any sticks or dried grass I saw, and presently had my arms full of such litter. Thus loaded, our progress was slower than I had anticipated. And besides, Weena was tired, and I began to suffer from sleepiness too. So that it was full night before we reached the wood. On the shrubbery hill of its edge, Weena would have stopped, fearing the darkness before us. But a singular sense of impending calamity that should indeed have served me as a warning, and drove me onward. I had been without sleep for a night in 2 days, and I was feverish and irritable. Well, I felt hopelessly coming upon me, and the more I was within. While we hesitated, hid among the black bushes behind us, the dim against their blackness, I saw three crouching figures. There were scrub and long grass all about us, and I did not feel safe from their insidious approach. The frost, I calculated, was rather less than a mile across. If we could get it through it would to the bare hillside. There is it seemed to me he was an altogether safer resting place. I thought that with my matches in my camp, for I could try to keep my path illuminated through the woods. Yet had uh, yet it was evident that if I was to flourish matches with my hands, and I should have to abandon my firewood. So rather reluctantly, I put it down, and it came into my head that I would have made these our friends behind by lighting it. I was discover the atrocious folly of this proceeding, but it came into my mind as an ingenious move for recovering our retreat. I don't know if you have ever thought what a rare thing flame must be in the absence of man, and in a temperate climate. The sun's heat is rarely strong enough to burn, even when it is focused by dewdrops, as it is sometimes the case in more tropical districts. Lighting may blast and blacken, but it rarely gives rise to a widespread fire. Decaying vegetation may occasionally smolder with the heat of its fermentation, but this rarely results in flame. Even this decadence too, the art of fire making had been forgotten on the earth. The red tongues that were in licking up my heap of wood were an altogether new strange thing to Weena. She wanted to run into it and play with it. I believe she would have cast herself into it had I not restrained her. But I caught her up, and in spite of her struggle, plunged boldly before me into the wood. For a little while, the glare of my fire lit the path. And looking back presently, I could see through the crowded stem from my heap of sticks. The blaze had spread to some bushes adjacent, and curved line of fire was creeping up the grass of the hill. I laughed at this and turned again into the dark trees before me. it was very black. Again, Weena clung to me he convulsively, but there was still, as my eye grew accustomed to the darkness, sufficient light for me to avoid the stems. Overhead, it was simply black, except for I get up a remote blue sky shone down upon on us here and there. I struck none of my matches, because I had not had no hand free. On my left arm, I carried my little one in my right hand, and I had my arm bar. For some way, I heard nothing but the crackling twigs under my feet, the faint rustle of the breeze above, and my own breathing in the throb of the blood vessels in my ears. Then I seemed to know of a pattering about me. I pushed on grimly. The pattering grew more distinct. Then I caught the same queer sound and voices as I had heard it in the underworld. There were evidently several of the Morlocks, and they were closing in upon on me. Indeed, another minute, I felt a tug. I got my coat, then something at my arm, and Weenie shivered violently and became quite still. It was time for a match, but to get one, and I must put her down. I did, and so, and as I fumbled with my pocket, a struggle began, and in the darkness, about my knees, perfectly silent and on her part, with the same peculiar cooing sounds from the Morlocks. Soft little hands, too, were creeping over my coat and back, and touching even my neck. Then the match scratched and fizzed. I held it flaring and saw all the white banks of the Morlocks in flight amid the trees. Hastily, he took a lump of camphor from my pocket and prepared to lay it as soon as this match would wane. Then I looked at Weena, and she was lying clutching my feet and quite motionless, just with her face to the ground. And with a sudden fright, I stood up to her. She seemed scarcely to breathe. I lit at the block of camphor and flung it to the ground, and as it split and flared up and drove back the Morlocks in the shadow. As I knelt down and lifted her, the wood behind and seemed full of the stir and murmur of a great company. She seemed to have fainted, and I put her carefully upon my shoulder and rose to push on, and then there came a horrible realization, and more maneuvering with my matches and meaning. I had turned myself about several times, and so now I had not the faintest idea in what direction lay my path. For all I knew, who I might be facing back toward the palace of green porcelain, I found myself in a cold old sweat. I had to think rapidly what to do. I determined to build a fire in camp where we were. I put Weenie still motionless down upon a turfy bowl, and very hastily, as my first lump of camphor waned, I began collecting sticks and leaves here and there out of the darkness that surrounded me. The Morlock's eyes shone like carbuncles. The camphor flickered and went out. I lit a match, and as I did so, two white forms that had been approaching, and we dashed hastily away. One was so blinded by the light that he came straight for me, and I felt his bones and his crying, and under the blow of my fist. He gave a whoop of dismay, staggering a little way, and fell down. I lit another piece of camphor and went on and gathering my bonfire. Presently, I noticed how dry was some of the foliage above of me. For since my arrival on the time machine, in a matter of a week, no rain had fallen. So instead of casting about among the trees for fallen twigs, I've begun and leaping up. I've been dragging down branches. As very soon I had a choking smoking fire of green wood and dry sticks, and could account of my comfort. Then I turned into where Weena lay beside my iron mace. I tried what I could to revive her, but she lay like one dead. I could not even mm, satisfy myself of whether or not she breathed. Now the smoke of the fire beat it over towards me, and it must have made me heavy of a sudden. Moreover, the vapor of camphor was in the air. My fire would not need replenishing for an hour or so. I felt very weary after my exertion and sat down on the wood. It too was full of slumberous murmur that I did not understand. I seemed just a nod and opened my eyes, but all was dark, and the Morlocks had their hands upon me, flinging off their clinging finger as I hastily felt into my pocket for the matchbox, and it had gone. Then and they gripped and closed with me again in a moment, and I knew what had happened. I had slept after my fire had gone out, and the bitterness of death came over my soul. The forest seemed full of the smell of burning wood. I was caught up by the neck, by the hair, or by the arms, and pulled down. It was indescribably horrible in the darkness to feel all these soft creatures heaped upon me. I felt as if I was in a monstrous spider's web. But I was overpowered and went down. I felt little teeth nipping at my neck. I rolled over, and as I did, so my hand came against my iron and lever. It gave me strength. I struggled up, shaking the human rats from me, and holding the bar short, I thrust where I judged their faces might be. I could feel the succulent and giving flesh and bone under my blows, and for a moment, and I was free. The strange exultation that had so often seemed to accompany the hard fighting came upon me. I knew that both I and we were lost, but I determined to make the Morlocks pay for their meat. I stood with my back to a tree, swinging the iron bar before me. The whole wood was full of the stir and cries of them. A minute passed. Their voices seemed to rise to a higher pitch of excitement, and their movements grew faster, yet none came within reach. I stood glaring at the blackness, then suddenly came hope. What if the Morlocks were afraid? And close on in the heels of that came a strange thing. The darkness seemed to grow luminous. Very dimly I began to see the Morlocks about me, three battered by my feet, and then I recognized with incredulous surprise that the others were running in an incessant stream, as it seemed, from behind me, in a way through the wood in front. And there her back seemed no longer, and there and back seemed no longer white, but reddish. As I stood agape, I saw a little red spark go drifting across the gap of starlight between the branches and vanish. And at that I understood the smell of burning wood, the sulphurous murmur that was growing now into a gusty roar, the red glow when the Morlock's flight. Stepping out from behind in my tree and looking back, I saw through the black pillars of the nearer trees. Is the flame of the burning forest. It was my first fire coming after me. With that, I looked for Rowena, but she was gone. The hissing and crackling behind me, the explosion of thud as each fresh tree burst in flame, and left little time for reflection. My iron bar still gripped if I followed in the Morlock's path. It was a close race. Once the flames crept forward so swiftly on my right, so I ran, and that I was outflanked and had to strike off to the left. But at last I emerged upon a small open space, and as I did so, a Morlock came blundering toward me and past me, and went on straight into the fire. And now I was to see the most weird and horrible thing, I think, of all that I beheld in that future age. This whole space was on as bright as day, with the reflection of the fire in the center. There was a hillock of tumulus surmounted by a scorched hawthorn. Beyond this was another arm of the burning forest with yellow tongues already writhing from it, completely encircling the space with the offensive fire. Upon on the hillside were some 30 or 40 Morlocks dazzled by the light and heat and blundering hither and thither against each other in their bewilderment. At first, I did not realize their blindness and struck furiously at them with my bar in a frenzy of fear as they approached me, killing one and crippling several more. But when I had watched the gestures of one of them groping under the hawthorn against the red sky and beard their moans, and so I was assured of their absolute helplessness and misery in the glare, and I struck no more of them. And yet, every now and then, one would come straight toward me, setting loose a quivering horror that made me quick to elude him. At one time, the flames died down somewhat, and I feared the foul creature would presently be able to see me. I was thinking of beginning in the fight by killing some of them before they should happen. This should happen, but the fire burst out again and brightly, and I stayed my hand. I walked about the hill among them and avoided them, looking for some trace of Weena, but Weena was gone. At last I sat down on the summit of the hillock and watched the strange and incredible company of blind things groping to and fro, making uncanny noises to each other as the glare of the fire beat on them. The coiling upright of smoke streamed across the sky and through the rare tatters of that red canopy remote, as though they belonged to another universe shone in the little stars, as 2 or 3 Morlocks came blundering into me. I drove them all off with blows of my fists, trembling as I did so. For the most part of that night, I was persuaded it was a nightmare. I bit myself and screamed in a passionate desire to awaken. I beat the ground with my hands and got up and sat down again and wondered here and there and again and sat down. Then I would fall all throughout, rubbing my eyes and calling upon God to let me awaken. thrice I saw Morlocks put their heads down in a kind of agony and rush into the flames. But at last, above the subsided in red of the fire, above the streaming masses of black smoke and the whitening and blackening tree stumps, and the diminished numbers of them, these dim creatures, came the white light of the day. I searched again for traces of Weena, but there were none. It was plain that they had left her poor little body in the forest. I cannot describe how it revealed, relieved me to think that it had escaped the awful fate to which it seemed destined. As I thought of that, I was almost moved to begin in a massacre of the helpless abomination about me. But I contained myself. The hillock, as I have said, it was a kind of island in the forest. From it submitted it I could now make out through a haze of smoke the palace of green porcelain, and from that I could get my bearings for the white sphinx, and so leaving the remnant of these damned souls still going hither and thither and moaning. And as the day grew clearer, I tried some grass about at my feet and limped on across the smoking ashes and among the black stems. That still pulsated internally with fire toward the hiding place of the time machine. I walked slowly, for I was almost as exhausted as well as lame. I felt intense hatredness is for the horrible old death of little Winnie. It seemed an overwhelming calamity. Now, in this odd familiar room, it is more like the sorrow of a dream than in an actual loss. But that morning, it left me absolutely lonely again, terribly lonely. I began to think of this house of mine, and of this fireside, and of some of you, and with such thoughts came a longing that was pain. But as I walked over the smoking ashes under the bright morning sky, I made a discovery in my trouser pocket were still some loose matches. The box must have leaked before it was lost. And that's the end of chapter 5. Oh, hello. It's coming in just at the end of of things here. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Let me get the link for Theozord's show, which is just starting. There you go. There's the link to his channel, and I'll be ending my show. So, live long and prosper.